Man, so did y'all hear about Kevin Samuels, the
Yeah.
controversial YouTuber who people call a woman hater? So anyway, he died. I think what day was that he died? When did he die? He died like at night, and they say he was what he had died from a heart attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they said something about a heart attack. I know I saw somewhere, talking about his, which it might have been a rumor, but talking about his cholesterol was a issue as well. But I feel like it was like what a couple days ago.
Yeah, I think it was Thursday, maybe.
I'm gonna have to look that up. But some people were saying it was kind of suspicious how he passed away with the young lady that he was with. They said that he fell on top of her, but he had been complaining about chest pains earlier that day, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Wow. I immediately thought about the Color Purple scene.
Yes. Oh, okay.
That's
Sorry.
first that's first thing
It's
came to
not
mind. The Color Purple
funny,
scene.
but
It's
I
not, but that's
promise
just
you,
what popped in my mind.
when I heard that, I saw the scene and everything. How did he die
Yes, like
on top of me?
that whole thing just played in my mind just then. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I'm behind here. What happened? I'm trying to what happened?
What, in the color purple or?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to see what y'all talk about. I feel like I'm on the
It,
outside now. What happened?
okay, so in the color purple or whatever, there's Celie, and she's played by Whoopi Goldberg, and the issue, her father, that was her father, right, that had passed away.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So her father passed away. Now she was taken away, well, not take, well, taken away at an early age. Back then, like women were getting married like freaking 14 years old, and she was about just that. So anyway, trying to make this real quick. So basically, she left and got married or whatever. Her father, I believe, was like not the best dad in the world either anyway. So she hadn't seen him in a very long time. And yeah, so she went to the funeral to pay her respects or whatever, and she walks up to his wife, which was a young woman as well. And because I guess I don't know what happened to her actual mother. I don't know. I don't remember that. But anyway, asked the lady, how did he die? And she said she looked up and she said, on top of me. So during sex.
Yeah. And that scene just played out in my mind when you said that.
Man,
But when I first heard it, I didn't necessarily think, and that's just me being special or whatever you want to think call it. But like, because I know I was talking about it with Corey, and he had to like tell me like it was during sex. To me, I just kind of thought that they had did that the night before or whatever, because it was like the next morning. I thought when he passed away, or that's the way I understood it. And so when she was trying to like help him or whatever, and then he fell on top of her. That's the way I understood it. So I don't know.
He helped him. I just don't know if it was the help that he thought he was gonna get. But
Yeah.
you know what? That's interesting too. I mean, was he thinking about that when he like was that in the plan? One
What
thing
is
I
the
did
plan?
notice.
I don't. Was it the play?
Yeah, I was thinking like, hey, I know what's what I'm saying. I'm thinking like trying to think for him right now. Like, so I know I'm probably gonna try to, do what I do tonight, and I've been having some issues. Like they say, he had some chest pains. Now I don't know if that had just started, but I'm assuming it had been going on for a while. So maybe that was his, his thought process. Like if I have an issue, then I'll have someone here with me that is in the healthcare field that may potentially be able to help me.
Because she was a nurse, I believe. But yeah.
Yes, yes. But I'm gonna tell you something. Switching gears here, like what I took from it, man, it was saddening because I used to like to watch him a lot because I think I didn't agree with everything that he said, but it was a lot of things that he
Yeah.
he talked about that I felt, especially as a man, it was very eye opening, motivational, and it was just direct. And I think for a lot of men, we do need someone that can just tell us directly, hey, if you want to be this, that, and the third, you're gonna have to do this to become that. And I just think he was really good at that. Some people took him as being very disrespectful, but I think if you were an open-minded individual, anyway, you're not gonna agree with everything that what a person has to say. And again, I guess it's the way he wanted to live. The single bachelor type life. They say he had been married twice before. Did y'all know that?
I did
Yeah,
not.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
So, but he died alone. You can see he had the money, he had the women, he had the cars, and maybe he just had a life that most men probably would have loved to have. But then on the other side, he died with a woman that he had just met the night before.
kind of weird because it's kind of I don't know. It just kind of seems like opposite of what he would be preaching. You know.
I was
Yeah,
surprised at that particular part. I don't know. I didn't really look at him or think I didn't know too much about him except for like the videos and like the times he would end up on the shade room and stuff by saying something that people didn't agree with. But I don't know. I didn't really think of him being I knew he was a bachelor, but I didn't think he was out here, doing that. Which I mean, ain't no judgment. I mean, that's how he wanted to live his life. But I guess I was kind of surprised to hear that it was like a just met this woman type of thing.
I wasn't surprised at all, especially the way he should be talking about different things. And I think that was part of what I meant when I said direct, how he was just speaking direct. I think he was that type of man. I think he was very comfortable with living the life that he was living, as far as like, hey, this is what it is. Like, hey, I'm gonna pay for this dinner. And then when we get back to the place, you know what time it is. Like, hey, I'm not here for.
I'm gonna knock you down.
Hey, right.
All right. Well,
No, and you know what? In some ways, I can understand that because it does cut back on all the, what people would say. This man played games with me, or he told me one thing and it was something else, and he knew it the whole time. He didn't say, that does cut
Right.
back on a lot of that. If you just go ahead and tell the person straight up.
Straight to the point.
That what's unfortunate though is that maybe he was able to get away with stuff like that because of his status. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he was just a regular guy and he told, a woman like, hey, look, I'm gonna take you to the Applebee's, and when we get back,
I'm gonna get them dolls,
But that goes back to the whole stance he took about, guys that had the money, that had the status, they could do things like that. Women don't have a problem with it. But when it comes to just the average hardworking 9-to-5 guy, they can't deal with it. And that's the status he took. As far as, saying that, basically helping these women realize their expectations were unrealistic. So
for some of them, and you know what? I think we are so hypnotized with the things that we see on TV. And I want to make sure I say this too. The 9-to-5 man, to me, it's always going to be more valuable. He like to say stuff about high value men. Don't get me wrong. If you were a guy that's making millions, of course, it's going to be a lot more that he could do for you and several other women than the 9-to-5 guy. But one thing I can say about the 9-to-5 guy that I know for myself I can identify with is when they loyal to you, I think that they have a way of just connecting to you that's so different than a guy that's a millionaire. You know what I'm saying? Because he could have whatever woman he wants at any time. But because this guy that's working 9-to-5, he got to really make a choice. See, the guy that's making millions, he can have a relationship with you, get a kid or two, and still be gone, and go get another woman, have another kid and be gone. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't really have to really sit there and think about it too much, especially if he's like got that kind of money. He'll just pay the child support and he's gone. But that guy that has to go to work every day and make a way for himself and you, and he doesn't have all this abundance of cash. He just got a dream and he's working at it every single day. He has to make, like almost precise decisions, and so when he chooses a woman, it's so much different. But I think it's interesting how when they choose women, the women don't look at them as the king or this great man. They look at him as like just a regular average man. And I think that those guys are the greatest guys in the world because they're there, you know what I'm saying, all the time, taking care of you and listening to you and fixing problems. Whereas the guy that's making millions, he could be with you today and be across the country or around the world tomorrow. Right. But that's just my thing. I think the 9-to-5 guys are really the true men, because a lot more of them have to stay there with you and be there with you and support you, and they are there. Whereas the millionaire guys that you can see got 100 different kids, 30 different women. You know what I'm saying? It's just that's just my opinion though.
No, I agree with that, especially a man that stays and handles his business or whatever and takes care of his family, because it's very easy, I think, for men to just kind of dip out anyway. So yeah, I think that's extremely commendable, especially like a 5 guy.
Absolutely.
No, but I was just gonna say that, it do seem like recently it seems like, the 9 to 5 guy kind of catching a lot of, a lot of stray bullets, And then again, not to, bashing entrepreneurs, or anything like that, not to bash them and anything, but a lot of times, with them, all they're really throwing to you is money. There's no emotion, that's thought of it versus like a lot of times with the 9 to 5 guy, they're already working like crazy, but they're more selective of, who they, want to bring around them in their space, in their area, because they don't basically have time to, play games and everything. I'm trying to get this money and stuff, you gonna be with me or you're not.
And surprisingly, they're the ones that are taking advantage of the most.
Yeah. As I say, you would think the millionaires would be, but
Well, the thing is that you can't take advantage of the millionaire because see, if he can come over that night and do what he do, and he hopping on the plane, he in Canada tomorrow. The 9 to 5 guy can't do that in most cases.
True.
Then the women with the millionaires, I mean, they're like easily disposable. So
Correct. But it's unfortunate what happened to him. I think he had his place in this world, even though some people really went in on him, as we saw with the social media, which brings me to another point. Doesn't really matter what I think about you as an individual. Even if I don't like you or something like that, it's better ways than to handle it. Because I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's a lot of negativity celebrating this man's death.
yes.
Yeah, and I feel like that's so heartless. Because listen, I was not a fan. I didn't necessarily dislike him per se, but I got wind of some of the things he said or whatever, and I just chose not to really watch him. I mean, that's just really what it was. But I mean, I don't know that man to be around. I don't wish death on anyone. And I thought it was really sad. And then to see people that are just, to me, I just feel like that makes you just really miserable and heartless to get on the internet like celebrating someone dying or whatever. Like, I mean, I don't know. It kind of reminds me about our episode a few weeks back with the whole Christian Toby situation. Because he had made like negative comments or whatever, more so about Black women as a whole, like just against the race altogether. And see, Kevin Samuels wasn't like that. But I mean, people were, now I don't know if people were necessarily celebrating his death, but they were definitely like, let's sit this one out, which I understood. But so it kind of reminds me of it in a way, but this is just like, oh, we glad like he gone. And it's like, what? Huh? Like it wasn't that deep. You could have just not, tuned in. Like, wasn't that serious.
Exactly. And like I said, it was very disheartening to see so many people celebrating because we all have to leave here one day. And I saw a video that he said him and Kevin, I think they went to college together or something, but he said something that I felt was very interesting because he was referring to people celebrating the death of Kevin. And he was just saying that even with him being gone, that doesn't change your situation. Like if you're miserable and you still, having trouble in relationships, you can't get a man, that doesn't change your situation now that he's gone.
Right.
That is so true. That is so
Feel
true.
out here messed up, y'all.
Right.
I want to add to that. I'm agreeing with that 1000%. And I have to say this. I think a lot of people just don't want to hear the truth.
Yeah.
I mean,
And you know what? He had like I said, me as well. I wasn't a huge fan, but I understood some of the stuff he was trying to say. He had a very, like you said, direct, sometimes harsh way of delivering it. But I did understand some of the things he was trying to get across.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of stuff he said, like I think a lot of stuff he was saying, I feel like he's one of the type that you gotta kind of peel back what all he's saying. You can't really so much focus on because the delivery is harsh, and that is part of trying to explain stuff to people. Like you can't just say it however. Like you do have to worry about that. So that was one of his faults, because people aren't gonna listen when you just be flat out harsh. But just because somebody is hard doesn't mean everything that he's saying is is wrong. Now, I heard a couple stuff he said, and I mean, like I said, a few stuff he was saying, I'm like, I don't know if I can flow with you like that, boss. But it was some stuff like it's like I can see where he was going in certain aspects. So it just, but yeah, I'm kind of like what Corey said. It's just we live in a day and age where a lot of people, if you say anything to them, they just want to shut down. They don't really want to take it in, even if it's something that they just don't want to hear.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with that like wholeheartedly, man. I think too, again, going further with what I was saying before, the truth does hurt, man. And nobody saying that Kevin was 100% right all the time what he was saying, but I can say this. What I believe is that a lot of things that he was saying about when it comes to the relationship between men and women, I think a lot of stuff, what he was trying to do was trying to get people to think critically. I don't think his intention was to bash anyone, but I really think that he was trying to say, hey, let's really, really look at this. Don't go off of what somebody else told you or what you may be thinking in your own head from whatever you got going on. Let's really take the time and look at this and see where we really are. And I think that's why so many people were upset, because when you have to face yourself and really think about where you are, sometimes it's not what you want to accept. It's even though it's the truth. And I know I go through that a lot myself, just looking at where I am and where I want to be and what I think of myself. And sometimes those things don't line up, but we have to learn to be okay with that and keep striving to be better. And don't just have these expectations that, you think that you deserve the world when you're not even trying to put out a mountain, So I think that's what he was trying to do.
And something I noticed too, just from like I said, the message he was trying to convey, and even with other things, like I think we kind of touched on last week about the whole body positivity thing. It's like, when people don't want to change, they want to force you to accept it, type thing.
Yes. Could you expound on that a little bit more? Because that's really good.
Well, it's just like, because it takes work to change. It's not easy, but it does require the work. For instance, with weight, it's simple, but it's not easy. And, that does require work and planning and things like that. And rather than putting in that work, it's easier to say, you know what, accept me as I am. And if you don't, you're fat phobic, or it's something, we're going to label that person because they don't accept me how I am, or, whoever that person is. So instead of me changing, I need the world to change to accommodate me.
That's powerful. I think a lot of us are raised like that, to be honest. I think as kids we're raised that way, and I think
I'll say that I think, and a lot of people, it's kind of like what we were talking about when we were talking about it before, but a lot of people get it misconstrued with body positivity. When you want somebody to accept you, yeah, you want somebody to accept you for you, but that doesn't mean that you don't, like Cece was saying, like you don't work. You know what I'm saying? You don't work for it and stuff like that. Like if you work, like if you're working out and everything, and you're trying to get better, you're trying to get healthy, yeah, then you accept them for them, because even if they are big or anything like that, or unhealthy right then, they're still trying to put in the work to get better. So therefore, yes, I'm going to still accept you. It's not like I'm not going to accept you until you get to a certain weight or a certain health. Then that's messed up. Then that's foul. But a lot of people just want you just to, oh, you accept me, I'm gonna be 500 pounds or whatever. I ain't finna, be doing no work or nothing like that. And it's like, no, you can't, like, no, that's not healthy. Like, you can't expect people to just rock with that.
I think too, depending upon, of course, the situation, but like in situations maybe like where it's a relationship, like someone you're dating, or a marriage or whatever, and then that person gains the weight, you know what I'm saying? And if it's not necessarily health related, and outside of like, having children and stuff like that, but they just kind of gain to where they're just like, it got out of hand. I think it is unfair, to ask that person to accept it when they got with you or whatever, you was a Coke bottle or whatever, you was looking good or whatever, and then now over the years,
you're a milk card.
Okay, yeah, good one. but it's not really fair because that's not who they got with, especially if they're still maintaining, of course, and things do change with age too, because like, not in all cases, but just your body just changes, it becomes more difficult for you to get rid of weight and stuff like that. As you get older or whatever, but there are people that are doing it without surgery. So,
Right.
it's not necessarily fair to accept, I mean, not accept, to request someone to accept you in that way. Again, if it's not related to health and things like that, because some things, your medication or whatever the case might be. So I understand that. But if it's just because, you've been, sitting at the table at Texas Roadhouse, and eating those rolls, I understand because they're good, but
Them rolls do be busting.
them rolls is good now. Okay. But
Ain't with that butter, boy. It's on.
man, and
Yeah.
all that, yeah, I'm telling you.
What you know about them rolls?
Miss Coco Love, I want to ask you something. Since
Okay.
we're the women on the panel.
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel us? I'm gonna just say all of us as women. Do you feel like it's, I guess, maybe a double standard when it comes to our requirements and when it comes to the men requirements? Because I know that's something else that Kevin Samuel used to touch on, how basically women get offended when men start talking about what they want in a woman versus how we are. Because, we're quick to say, we want a guy that's this tall and makes this amount of money and yada, yada, yada. But when a man mentions something about, he want a woman that cooks, clean, he wants her to be a certain weight, all of a sudden we're offended. Do you feel that as women we're more and of course, and me and you, I think we're kind of okay, but we're just talking in general. Do you think women get more offended when when the men have requests for us?
Yeah. And I'm speaking as myself, as a woman that has gotten offended by certain things. I mean,
Okay.
but that's, so yeah, I think so. I can see it. I just think, and I think it kind of goes back to like your tone and your delivery too, because I know me and Corey were having this conversation about like, it was like a general question, like, how do you tell your significant other that they have gained weight or whatever? And, like, you don't just be like, baby, you done got big as hell. You don't do that. But I think it would be great if, you could say, hey, babe, we should start working out. We should, carve out some time through the week or whatever to go to the park or go for a walk or whatever, kind of make it a situation to where you're included as well. Because it doesn't hurt for anybody to work out, even if you do have yourself together, like do it some more. And if you are in shape, like it's great for you to help your partner get back to where they need to be or whatever, if it's getting out of hand. But yeah, I think so. I will say, for me personally speaking, for myself, I think it's just delivery, because I can see as well, I can see. I see myself in the mirror. I can tell one way that I always know that my weight always fluctuates. It always has, because I have an autoimmune disease. So it just always has fluctuated. It kind of goes up and down. Never too extreme though, unless I'm on a certain type of medication. But I can tell when I have lost weight, because I've definitely lost significant amount of weight. But I can also tell when I've gained weight. I can just tell by like my clothes and how my clothes fit. So you don't have to tell anybody like, you can gain some weight, you got big. You don't have to do that, so I just think it kind of goes with the delivery, but it's nothing wrong with a man stating what he wants, just like a woman can state what she's looking for. I would just say, and I'm sure we've said this before, like it's easier said than done, but you have to really look at yourself too, though. Make sure that you have things to offer, like, as well. So if you're saying that he needs to be, built and muscular, like, you should not have a muffin top. I don't necessarily feel like that's a fair request, because
I agree.
If a man was in shape, not saying, and I am not saying that men that are in shape do not like fit girls or that they don't like muffin tops, because I know that there are some out there. However, I'm just saying, just kind of looking at it, if they were like super muscular and in shape, like he would probably want a woman with at least a couple of abs. At least.
Right. And I guess that's my thing with it. It's like, having a standard that you yourself don't meet. Like that kind of baffles me.
Yeah.
When I
feel
hear
like
that.
I've done that before though, too. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like I, not knowing that I was doing that, but I feel like I have, like especially like when I was younger, like, oh, he needs to have his own place or whatever. But at the time I didn't have my own place. It's not necessarily, but that was more so like, well, how are we gonna have any type of like alone time or whatever if one of us
right.
stay at home with our parents?
What
But
you
that's
need
a double
alone
standard
time?
too. Hey,
Trying to do? What you going?
look, I guess you don't need no alone time. You need to be trying to figure out how you gonna get out your parents' house. But and that's a double standard too, because I think it's more acceptable for women to stay at home. We can all off subject, but it's more acceptable for women to stay at home longer with their parents, it seems, than it is for a man. Like women aren't necessarily like accepting of that usually.
When it comes to dating, it's gonna be double standards all day, especially for the men. I gotta bring this for E, man. We gotta come back. Check this out, man. I'm gonna ask you one question. We gotta get ready to wrap this thing up. But I'm gonna ask you this: is there any way that you can nicely tell a woman that she's overweight?
Nah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I ain't even gonna lie to you, B-Dog. I don't care what essay you put together to try to best explain it to her. I don't care how you can even say it subtle. I don't care how you do it. You can be like, hey, babe, I thought maybe we should start eating salads and stuff. The minute you say that, what you trying to say? Why the hell are you trying to eat salads now? What you trying to say? I'm gaining weight or something like that?
You see?
Nah,
I'm sorry.
Then you gotta take 10 hours trying to explain to her what you really was trying to say, but there ain't no way to say it. You're gonna say the same thing over and over again, and she's gonna still feel the same way. So it ain't gonna make no difference.
I do think it can be delivered a certain way. Like it's like how Corsica mentioned, like especially if you willing, like you mentioned that you also want to participate, like we're doing this together. I think it could be delivered that way, and it come across well. I think
Maybe I
think so too, especially if you're doing something fun.
Right.
No, maybe it's gonna quickly turn from fun to what you trying to say.
Man.
Let's go run.
I mean, I'm definitely not negating that there are some women out there, but I just think, like that would do that. I'm not negating that at all because I already know. But in general, it wouldn't offend me. Like if you, came to me and said, hey, let's start, we should start working out or whatever, 3 times a week, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, and of course it'd be something else going along with it. Like you just come out the blue now while I'm eating a cookie and you say that, then yeah, I am gonna ask you.
That's a double standard right there. That's a double standard.
Well, I mean,
because what if the guy comes to you and he says, hey, I got enough to pay for my plate. You gonna have to come on. You make more money so you can pay for your own plate. You go, what you mean?
You costing me fun.
You know what I'm saying? It's unfortunate what happened to Kevin Samuels. I'm sure he'll be missed by quite a few people, and he's probably not going to be missed by quite a few people. But the point is, he existed, and we have to acknowledge that. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen to us today, and for the panel for joining us today. This is Opinion and Facts. I am Swaver. Until next time, peace.